Okay, hold on just a minute. Okay, now I gotta get everybody all notified because apparently my link changed. Okay. And just a second longer. And then let me go ahead and poke my head in here, so promo. And sculpting a flaming paladin. Bleep. And that should work. Good. I emphasize should work. Alright, now. And there we go. Alright. So welcome, and if you're one of the people that's watching after the fact, after the show's over, don't forget to, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you get notified when I go live and stuff like that. And the Anycubic Photon is amazing. And here's a Carlton come to say hello. What are you doing, buddy? Carlton? Yeah. So, as the title says, today I'm doing a flaming paladin. Ugh. If Carlton will ever let me sculpt. So welcome. Oh. He's so feral, isn't he? I gotta put you down on the floor, okay? Because I gotta get to work. Get down. Let go. Get down. There you go. Now shoot. Okay, so anyway, like I was trying to say before I was interrupted by the furball, tonight, as the title of the video shows, I'm sculpting a flaming paladin. This does not mean that it's a socially unacceptable term. This means they're on fire. They're literally on fire. Their horns are covered in fire. Their weapons flaming. They're on fire. And this is the person for whom I'm going to be sculpting that figure. Yes. You gonna say hi, Shinju? Yep, there goes Shinju. Sniffles. And then places her head against my hand for pettings. No, Carlton. I need to get this going. Alright. Since the person for whom I'm sculpting this is here, right there, I'm going to go ahead and swap out to Dad's studio so we can get to work. And here we have a base female figure. Now there's two things we need to add, definitely. The first... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, come on. There we go. The first is horns. And since those were originally scaled for the male, we just need to bring them down a little bit. We're going to be changing their shape once we bring it into ZBrush. And we need to add the tail. Where is the tail? Where did I put the... There it is. Let me... Now, that tail is way too big because that's the lizard man tail, but that's okay because we have that. And then we just lower it down until it's in the right spot. So this is a basic tiefling female right there. Okay, first things first, Regina. Number one, what weapon does your tiefling use? What weapon does he use as shield? Oh, and is she right-handed or left-handed? Long sword, okay. Is she right-handed or left-handed? Right-handed, okay. Now I'm going to load in a couple different long swords for you to choose. And again, we can modify them once we get them into ZBrush. These are just basics. Okay. First of all, we have... We can go with a more Asian style weapon, maybe, or not. Okay, weapons that count as longswords include... Oh, those are great swords. But the katana counts as longsword. Although that particular sword will have to be tweaked. Oh, let me do one last thing real quick. Alright. Another weapon that counts as a longsword is a Kriegsmesser. Let me go and just do this. The Kriegsmesser is actually a German weapon that is a longsword variant. There's the regular longsword, which that's actually not the printable version. I keep forgetting to resave it like that. And there's the Celtic variant. Well, wrong. No. There we go. Celtic variant. And then the second European variant. And do I have any others? I don't think so. No, I don't. Okay, so these are all longswords. Now, they are large. These are hand-and-a-half weapons. There's other variants that aren't quite as large that would count as longswords by the rules. I mean, like, the the Viking sword. Let's see what else. Let's see, there's a couple others. I guess no, Falchion would class more as a scimitar. Well, then arming swords, but those are just shorter versions of these. So pretty much, which of these swords would you like the most? Counting from the katana, the Kriegsmesser, the longsword type 1, the Celtic longsword, the longsword type 2, or the Viking sword. We can make the Viking sword longer if we want. Okay, dual wield. So you've got one longsword. Okay, you want the Celtic style, you said, so let's go ahead and delete these. You can have that style, or one that's a little bit shorter. Probably better for dual wielding, but we can also make it a little bit, and we can tweak the length and proportions of these. So 2 of them, and are both of them flame tongue, or is it one mundane and one flame? Well, so it's not. I don't mean material doesn't matter. Right now we're just talking geometry. So they're both flame tongues. Is that the case? Okay. Now let's go ahead. Longsword Celtic. Left hand, right hand. And then like we tweak the hands. And we got to go back to the back because they're not quite in the right spot. No furball. And this one, tweak the position of it. Okay. So she's got her swords. Do we want to make them a little bit shorter? Because those are really large swords. Okay, do we want to make them a little bit shorter? Because like I said, those are very, very large swords. To give you an idea, okay, so we're going to select both of them, go to parameters, select all, and we're going to Z-scale. We're going to start off at about there, and we're going to Z-translate them back a little. And then a little bit more there. There we go. They're both clearly long swords. but they're also not quite. They're also viable longswords, as in viable for dual wield. And I really don't want to make them narrower. I could theoretically make them narrower, but the problem with that is I need this geometry to make the flame on them later. Okay, next question is, what do you wear? As in, what kind of armor? And do you have any ideas in mind of how it should look? And hello, Turkey Al Rashidi. Okay. I find it interesting that 5th Ed has dropped banded mail. Banded mail was a spurious armor type, as in it was never actually used. It was created. Okay, plate. Do you have any desire on what that plate will look like? Ralph? Stop pulling the chair, and no, don't even think about starting anything with Shinji. You understand? Do you have any idea on what style of plate, like any kind of decorations or anything of that sort? Okay, the material and the magic bonus doesn't mean anything for the purposes of sculpting the figure. That'll be on the painting. Arr, matey. He's not a parrot, but oh well. Dragon on the chest piece, okay. Do you mind? Do you really, really mind? You can get back up here after the show. Do you mind? Can I put you down? Hey, Furball. Down. Down, boy. Go figure. Hello, Otto. Ralph. After the show. Go on. Shoot. Sorry about that. Okay. Next question. With respects to the design of the armor, plate can have scale, chain, quilt, underneath or leather underneath it. What is the padding under your armor and the connection of the joints? Do you want chain, scale, quilt, or basically smooth cloth? I'm sorry it's being so complex, but it kind of has to be. We're going to need that to make part of the armor. And oh, pardon me just for a second here. I gotta pop to this just for a moment. Okay, I'm not frozen according to... Okay. Hello? Sorry, I gotta pull up something. Okay, I have to see this picture that you sent me. Okay, alright, that's gonna be extremely complex to sculpt. But the lower body is more important, honestly. Um, if I am frozen on your screen, try refreshing the page. Okay. Up. Hold on just a second here. You have to re-pop out the chat. Hardy hard to hard to hard. Just remember, if I seem frozen, refresh the page. Okay. Now, let's go ahead, go back into here. Next step up, we're going to hide the swords and the tail. Oh, we got to parent the tail to the hip. Actually, we're not going to hide the tail. We're going to hide the tunic bottom. And what we need to do now is we need to determine the pose. What kind of pose you need. Because you're fighting with two weapons. You can do almost any, a defensive pose would be like what I did for that one rogue with the crossed weapons. Or maybe leaning back. Offensive would be running forward. Okay, sassy. That's a large range there. Ralph, no, no. Shoo, fuzzball. So leaning back and more just not in combat ready, because you really can't show sass in combat. It just doesn't work unless you want to like cut yourself or be killed. Hmm. Okay. Alright, so let's see what we're going to do here. We're going to grab the hip. We're going to rotate it like that. And a little bit back. This leg comes down. And back a little. forward there, back here. We're going to make it a slightly looser, not quite as deep version of Tiger Stance from Shaolin Lohan. All right. Now let's make sure we got these feet oriented right. Okay. And let's twist that flat. We're going to bend it up a little because we got to bring this leg back down a little. Okay. Now bend that down. Okay. So the lower torso is ready. Perspective view. Now we're going to twist the abdomen a bit. Go back a little and to the side a bit. Let's actually kind of bring it over a little bit more because we're going to do some with the chest. A bit more twist. And a bit more side to side. Actually, no. That's too much side to side. Do the side to side from the chest. And we need to bend the abdomen forward and the chest back. And then we're going to twist the neck and look down. And side to side to make it upright. Then, let's see. The positioning of the arms and the swords. That's the next bit. Okay, basically, two weapons. You can be pointing with your left sword, and the other sword just kind of off to the side, bent up, or kind of drifting down. So that's my first suggestion. So, for example, we'd take this arm, bring it forward a little bit there, twist, down just a little, twist, and side to side on the sword. It would be like your sword is, well, we need to bring it forward because we need to point it at your enemy, which is where you're looking. And actually we need to twist it just a bit. And then this arm, we're gonna twist a bit there. I'm just gonna bend up. Actually, let's bend it up a bit more. And bend this. So how's the, well, he's leaning a bit too far back. Okay, what we need to do now, we need to grab the foot, pin translation, pin rotation. Grab this foot, pin translation, pin rotation. Grab the hip, switch to move, and move her hips forward just a little to get her a bit more balanced and not leaning as far back. There. And there we go. The body pose. We still haven't done the tail pose yet. And we haven't done the expression yet. This is Daz Studio. This is not geometry from Daz Studio. This is geometry I made in 3D Studio Max. I just used Daz Studio to rig it. The reason for that is so that if I wanted to, I can come in and, for example, make her Dragonborn, or a dwarf, or an elf, a halfling. Or I could make her a bit bustier, less busty, a bit hippier or less hippie, or both at once or none. Basically changing the shapes. Okay, now the tail. The tail needs to rotate a little bit. So we're going to start with the, we're going to expand it all. And take that first tail, we're going to twist it a bit like that, and oh, no, not Z translate, we need to X translate. And we're also going to drop it down a bit. Let's... Okay. I'm thinking it'd probably be best to to go with the rest of the lines, like the line of this sword continues down that leg. The line of this sword should continue on into a curl coming back through the tail. Whereas this line goes more towards down this leg. So I'm going to go ahead and select some of the lower... Select the first two. We're going to... actually not. Go side to side a bit. A little bit twisty, a little bit down. And then the last three are going to come back the other way. And there we have our pose and our clearly visible tail. And it will be ready to start sculpting on in just a minute. So we also need to make the tunic bottom visible. Now let's make sure that we have any twisting undone. Okay, no major twisting there. Okay, the right leg needs to be twisted 16.84. No fuzzbutt. Okay. And that is the base figure before sculpting. It's just a very basic bleh. And I fuzz bucket. Yes. What do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing? No. Yeah. Okay. Now come on. Let go of the chair. Furball. Wait till I'm done with the show. Go. Yeah. Okay, now, what we're going to do now is we're going to hide the horns, both swords, the tail, and the tunic bottom. We're going to go ahead. I'm bringing it back over to this for a second because I need to show you a couple things and you need to make a decision. Okay, the first image that I'm putting up here is the different bases that are currently available. Two large icons. Oh, come on. I forgot I loaded that thing in, which slows everything down. Yeah, here we go. This is the first set of bases. And then this is the second set. Now, looking at these and these, do any of them jump out at you? These and these. There's no shield. There's not one with a shield. Do you mean the magic circle? The one kind of in the middle on this row on this page? That's a magic circle. That's like for summon things and stuff. Middle row, third from up to bottom. Okay, the magic circle. Okay. Just needed to know. Now, we're going to take this. One thing we're going to do, actually looking at it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shrink those hands because those hands are looking way too big. And that means increasing this to... Yeah, the hands were looking a bit too large, so I shrunk them a bit. Also, I need to modify his position. Okay, there we go. Now, we hide the swords. File, export, and we're going to go up to Resculpt Minis, Patreon Minis, new Teeth Pally. Teeth Body. Accept. And now, before we do anything else, we're going to import that magic shield. Or magic, you got me doing it now. The magic circle. We're going to position it. Bring it forward just a little because she's kind of leaning forward a bit. About there. That's going to be the base. So we hide the body now. File, export, teeth base. Make the horns visible and the base invisible. Import teeth horns. Accept. Now the swords. The tail. And the tunic. Accept. And we go to ZBrush. Yay, ZBrush. Import. Teeth Pally, teeth body. Now, one thing we're going to do real quick, we're going to mask off everything except the absolute bottom of those feet. The reason being is we need to make them stretch a little bit so that they blend into the base pretty well. I know that looks like she's now wearing platform shoes, but because of the base, she won't really look like that. Okay, next, I don't know if you ever answered the question, by the way. What do you want as the joint gap material and the padding and things like that on your armor? It's got, chain, scale, quilt, or cloth. There, see with the base, the feet don't actually look like platform shoes anymore. Scale. Okay. Alright, so what we're going to do next then is we're first going to go ahead and hide everything but the body. And what we're going to do, it's time to break out the tablet. But first, think about it, I've got to do one other thing. I've got to actually, before we do anything else, we need to smooth out the chest, come to think of it, because that chest is going to be under a heavy metal breastplate and won't have such extreme definition on the breasts. So we're going to shrink the breasts a bit and then just use the clay buildup tool with that and a low intensity and no lazy mouse. It's going to kind of build it up as more of a smooth, even area. Okay, now oh yeah, I also need to turn off the tail. Yeah. Now, it's at 545,000 triangles. That's not enough. We need to divide it once and delete the lower. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be drawing on the areas for the joints that are not going to be part of the armor skirt. So for all intents and purposes, we're going to draw on the elbows. Oh, local shift. We're going to draw on the elbows, the underarms, and move that real quick. Now let's add in that. We won't need to worry about the crotch area because that'll be covered by the skirt, but we do need to do the backs of the knees. Alright, now what we're going to do with this, we go to Subtool, Extract, and we're going to extract at 0 thickness. Accept. Then we draw to get rid of the erasure. And what the end result is just a couple little panels. So, now we need to go ahead, we're going to do what's called Z-remeshing instead of dynameshing. This is just for the sole purpose of getting a different polygon flow without completely what's the word I'm looking for? It changes the polygon flow without closing up these shapes. And we're going for half-sized renders. And now the next thing, I'm going to go ahead and make this visible back faces so you can see where they all are. Okay. We're cutting in half, and then half again, and then half again, because we want a relatively low polygon mesh for what we're about to do. And we're going to export this as teeth male joints. I know it's going to be scale, but scale is still a type of male. And then I open up, it's called UV Layout. This is a program that I have, that I use for this pretty much. Teeth palette, teeth male joints. What this does, we're gonna each of these is a shell that represents each one of those sections. And we're flattening them out because we're going to be doing what's called a noise mesh on them. Okay. Every single one of these needs to be longwise because of the way the male works. Now, some of you will notice by the time that I'm done that it doesn't quite work. I'll explain why when I get there. We're going to now align to axes. Okay. And we're going to pack them best with a little bit of a bleed all and pack all. The end result is this. They're all arranged in a single square. So now we save all, save, dismiss, and exit. Now I import tiefling male joints. I can turn off this. And then before we do anything, I have to go to deformation. We're going to go one. That should be enough. Yeah, that's enough for it to mostly. Oh, we got to do one more. Okay. Now, under geometry, we're going to start subdividing until this active points here gets really big. That should be enough. Frame. Now we go to surface, noise. We click on UV. Click on alpha on off, and I go to my alphas, and one of the ones I have is chainmail. Reduce mixed basic noise to 0. I'm going to increase that strength a lot, but as you notice, it's way too big. It doesn't look... Oh, sorry. We need the scales. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to reduce the size of the scales. And okay, I see two problems. One, this one right here is the only one going in the right direction, which means we need to cancel that and reopen the UV mapper. Actually, no, not that one. We need to open this one first so we can identify which one is the wrong direction. And now, we can't tell right now, but I can, let's see, view back faces. Okay. Texture, load. No, not load. Texture, color. Okay, whichever one is on the gray 5 and 6. So this one is upside down. Okay. Now, we go back to this one, load, but this time we make sure it's on edit, weld UVs, and clean. And then we go in to the teeth palate and teeth male joints. Play UV. We take this one. Oh. And we spin it around like that. And then we're going to repack. Okay. Save all. And then dismiss. Exit here. Exit here. And now, once again, we have to import teeth belly, teeth male joints, deformation of there, geometry, and then subdivide until it's there. Now, they're all going in the same direction now, which is what we want. Oh, not geometry. Surface. Noise, UV, alpha on or off, and we're going to make sure we use this one. Makes basic noise of 0, strength pretty strong just so we can see it. Alpha scale. About there. Click OK. And I just had to change hop down. And then before we do anything else, mask by noise. Bing. Masking. Inverse. Deformation. And here we kind of need to pull it like this, and we inflate. Masking inverse. And we're going to deflate. Okay. And now we have the scales that are going to be at the seams of the armor. And it's time to actually make that armor. So we hide the scales for right now. We're going to start by the inner plates. And by that I mean the plates on the upper arms, the top of the chest and top of the back, and the thigh and shin. So we're gonna bring that draw size down a bit, and we're going to add basically it's there. We're going to do something similar here. We're going to make little smaller circles here, and then larger ones here. And this is going to be our upper chest and back plates. And we're going to make our upper arm plates, which are just going to be very basic vambraces. Coming that around. Yeah, and then down and around. Okay, and then we're gonna need, actually we're gonna need to make a waist plate too, but actually that we can sculpt directly on the skin. And then thigh plate. The thigh plate, we're gonna start off something similar to what we did with that. Let's do it the old-fashioned way. Let's just draw it on. So, basically what we're doing here is we're masking off areas that we are going to extract to turn into the actual armor plates. And since these are going to be the inner plates, they won't be extracting as much as the outer ones, like the bracers, the elbow cups, and the knee cups. Plus, a lot of the thigh plate will be under the skirt. Alright. Now we're gonna make those visible. And we're then going to try an extraction of 0.02. Okay, that would be good, except we need to make the elbow a bit less small. Right here, we need to make sure it goes over the elbow. Okay. Now, extract. Okay, we need to make it a double extract. Frame out. Yes. No. Delete that. Okay, we need to go ahead and tighten the bottom of this one down on the scale. Okay, that should do it. Draw and draw. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the move tool on the chest piece, move topological, on the chest pieces. That way we don't have to pull it out quite as much when we do the breastplate, and it won't make the character look chubby. And actually, I didn't say chubby, I should say it wouldn't make the character look like they're wearing one of those incredibly huge winter coats that nobody likes because you feel like you're the Michelin Man because it's all those bands of down-filled pockets. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead real quick. We need to take care of that. That is the skirt, the tunic skirt. I need to kind of pull this out for one. Okay. Now what we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead and export, and we're going to subdivide it a little. Delete lower. And then we're going to adaptive strength and Z-remesh it. Okay. I'm going to pull this out a little, make sure we don't have it going into the armor too badly anywhere. Notice that this is helping keep the shape of the hips. And then we're going to export this. We're going to call this Patreon new Teeth Pally Tunic Mail. And we're actually going to bring it into this one. This is 3D Studio Max. This is where I do most of my geometry. We're now going to import from Patreon new Teeth Pally Tunic Mail. Import. And from here, we're going to not delete, but we're going to trim. Oh, hell. No, that won't do. Back to ZBrush we go. Okay, now that's where we need to be at. And once again, we're going to move these things. Okay, now we're going to export it as Tunic Mail. Come back over here, we're going to import Tunic Mail again. Because what we need to do is we need to trim off the top and bottom of the mail for the purposes of mapping this. Okay, so let's select here. Now let's select here. Loop. There we go. Split. Select that bottom. Delete. And now from the top. Nope, Buzz. Stop that. Getting into the trash can. Loop. Split. And delete. Now we re-export this as Tunic Mail. File. Export selected. Wavefront OBJ. Meshes, free sculpt, Patreon, new, teeth pally, tunic mail. Yes. Export. Done. Delete. And we come back over to this. Load, new, new teeth pally, tunic mail. Frame. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to make just 2 panels. Drop, drop. Go to UV. Flatten. Optimize all. And then we're going to rotate them so that they're roughly fronting. And we're going to pack it. Okay. And then we're going to save, dismiss, exit, go back to ZBrush. And from here, we're not appending, we are inserting. And there we're going to import tunic mail. And then with geometry, we're going to subdivide it a little bit. And this we're going to subdivide a little bit. Okay. And we make sure this gets up to there. Yeah, a lot of geometry. And now we go to deformation. We're going to inflate slowly until it's just barely out there. That's good enough. That is going to be our hip scale. Now we go to noise, UV, alpha on or off, and we pick up this version. And now we scale it down until, yeah, some larger scales than what are on the joints, but that's okay. We click OK. And we click mask by noise. We inverse the mask, and then we push it until it's very clearly scales. We're then going to inverse the mask again. And we're going to deflate just a little, just to give it a sharper edge. Okay, now what we're going to do with this, we're going to geometry and we're going to cap holes. Modify topology, close holes. That'll take a second. No. Shoot. No. And it's still taking forever. Sorry for not replying earlier, Duong. The DAZ Studio is not required for this. That's just what I use for doing my posing and doing some basic shaping before I actually get to work on the figure itself. Um, did I go boom again? No. It's just taking forever. Notice it's now a blue circle. This may have been a mistake. Yeah, Daz Studio has nothing to do with a miniature working or not. It's just a program that I use for posing the figures before they do anything. Okay. Okay, sorry. I'm back here because it appears to have... Yeah. Hello, feel free to feel free. Welcome. Oh, yeah, it's gonna take a few to close that hole. I didn't... I should note, I did not lock the program. It is not locked. It is still processing. Oh, just to show you, did a few other things recently. I recently made a prototype robot for a science fiction war game I've been working on. And to give you an idea on just how big this robot's supposed to be, here's some human troops alongside it. Yay. And it's still going. Yay. Okay. We might have to continue this at 8 o'clock show. If it doesn't respond anytime soon. But just to explain what I was doing, that the scale around her skirt was open-ended at the top and the bottom. The end result, it has to cap it to make it a solid volume before it can do things like Dynamesh. And I forgot it sometimes has problems when you have 2 point something million points on a surface that you're closing like that. Go figure. So, while we're waiting, after this, the next step will be to make the actual breastplate, bracers, greaves, and sabatons. Sabatons are the foot. I'm not going to... I'm not going to fully detail the gauntlets because at that level you're going to end up with nothing but beads instead of fingers if you try to delineate the divisions in them. You can come close, but... Carlton. Carlton. No, don't look away from me. Look at me. Come on. Yeah, you. I'm putting you down on the floor. Ugh. Anyway, persistent cats aside, once I make those and have them out, then I will actually get to work on detailing them. Then I will make the pauldrons, the elbow cops, and the knee cops. Now, all of that is pretty standard for a figure. I'm putting you on... Oh, let go. But what finishes it is that instead of hair, she has flame. And her horns are slightly on fire. Her blades are on fire. So, I'll be making those into flame. Like I said, this... Yeah, there he goes. Like I said, I'll probably continue this at the 8 o'clock show if this doesn't kick in. And ZBrush go boom. Now, there's one thing about ZBrush going boom that's actually not that bad. And that's that ZBrush autosaves. So, what we're gonna go ahead and get back to work here in just a second. Alright, so let's go ahead and... This is how you recover an autosave. This is what's called the lightbox, and it shows your most recent files that you've been working on. And in our case, that is this one. And you'll notice it does not have the tunic done. What we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and export this back on top of the tunic mail, yes. We are not going to go into here into 3D Studio Max. Instead, I'm just going to go ahead and take it straight into UV Layout as it is. And then from here, drop. And then drop. What? No. Drop. What did I miss? Oh, I see. I got a couple missing pieces there. There we go. Drop. And now, one from the side here. One from the side here. Drop, drop. Now, flatten all of these. Run for 10 minutes, which it won't go 10 minutes. It'll run until it's done. And then we're going to rotate these so that they're upright. And these, we're going to scale down really, really tiny. Okay. Now pack. 2, 3. Pack all. Near. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go grab this one. Put it up to this corner. And then save all. Save. Dismiss. exit, and then we're going to open this one back up. Yes, I really want to exit. Open, tunic mail, okay. Tools assigned to group. Oh, it works better if I actually select them. Tools assigned to group, group 1. And then the top and bottom we're going to assign to a different group. Tools assigned to group 2. Save. We want to export the UV coordinates. And that's good. Okay. Save. Now we go back to ZBrush. And we're going to append. Actually, no, let's make this a little bit easier. We're going to import tunic mail. And then we're going to duplicate it. The reason we're doing this is we want the scales to be have an unaltered version underneath them, so we can extract out what will be the hit plates. Let me divide. Delete lower. Now frame in and zoom out a little bit. And we're going to have to use the move tool here. Oh. Move. Pull this out a little. Okay. Now, we go to Surface, Noise, UV, Alpha. And we go for the upside down scales because of a vagary and ZBrush. Mix basic noise to 0, increase the strength, and reduce the scale. Pun not intended. Not that small, about there. Okay. Now, mask by noise. We're going to hide the rest of these for a reason. Now, we go back to masking, we inverse, and then do that so we have only this visible and mask it. There. Now, let's make these visible again so we can see. And deformation, and we're going to inflate. So it's thick enough. Then masking, inverse, and then once again we're going to select this group and mask it off. And then we're going to deflate just a little. Make it a bit sharper. Okay. And there we have our scale. Let's frame back out. Go down to Subtool, or back to Subtool. And now it is time to get a brief pause. Yes, that studio is free. Okay, the files that I use, I made. I'll do them in 3ds Max and use Des Studio to rig them. The 25 tier of my Patreon includes the basic versions, including several morphs and lots of props. Okay, now we're going to turn on transparent, because now we're going to start now we're going to make the bracers and the greaves and the chest piece. Now, okay, we're going to come up here. The last thing we're going to make on the torso is the waist plate, which will go over both the armor plate and the top of the scale. Okay. Okay, and then coming up, let me do one thing real quick. Make this invisible. I can see where I've got that. Okay. And just making sure I've got a nice little bit down there. Okay, that will be the breastplate. And now we also need to make the bracers, which the bracers are going to be pretty easy. Just loop down here. Okay, there's that one. And then just remember, there is going to be an elbow cop here, so it will have that blank space on the back of the elbow covered. Okay. And then let's orient this, because I'm going to cut off the top of that selection so that the bracers have a terminus. And now it's time for the greaves. Once again, there are going to be knee cops, so there will be a section that will not be affected. And then just going to come back to that in just a second. Okay, and then Then we're going to come in and remove that just to sharpen the point over the ankle. All right, that's that one, and now the last greave. Okay, I'm going to have to reduce the size of the mouse for the next bit. Okay. And close that off. Now we're going to erase. So, I was out driving this morning, running an errand real quick, and somebody pulled out of its driveway, screeching in front of me. I was in the left-hand lane. She pulled out that close. I honked. She honked back, leaned out her window, and yelled, "B," the B word. Yeah, I was kind of like, what? Okay, now we go back down to extract. We change 0.02 to 0.035. Extract. Too big. 0.025. Accept. Now, it looks heavy right now, but that's because we're getting ready to tweak it. Actually, no. Let's delete that. Go back to 0.02. Accept. And what we're going to do now is we're going to use the move tool. We're going to grab the center of this. We're going to start playing with the shape of the breadth. Oh. We're going to kind of bring this down a bit so that we have a bit more of the look that was wanted. Okay. Now we're going to shrink this down, the mouse, and smooth the bottom of this. Oh, that didn't work. So, Dynamesh of 256. Now we'll smooth out the bottom so that we can do a waist plate. You'll notice I'm cheating. I'm not putting all the layers actually on top. I'm lowering the areas where they'll overlap, except for where the pauldrons, kneecaps, and elbows will overlap. Okay, now we're going to smooth out the chest just to smooth. We're going to detail each layer of plates separately. so we can access them all individually. And now we go back to him, to the body, draw to make sure there's no, and then transparency, and now we're going to draw on the pauldrons. Do you have a preference for pauldron shapes? Regina, do you have a preference for pauldron shapes? Do you want it like that picture that you sent me earlier? Kind of almost flowery? Okay. Now, what this is... Oh, don't do that. There we go. We're going to start off by adding on the area that's going to be closest to the neck. And then it's going to come down to there and there. Okay. Okay, we're going to come down this way. There. We're going to extract it. This is definitely going to be 0.03 because this is a pauldron. Now remember, I'm going to be detailing them later. Okay. We're gonna make another layer to the pauldrons. And what it's going to be is it's going to actually come down farther. Well, it's going to come down farther this way. And come up to there. And then, oh, no, too deep. Well, we need to kind of trim that. And then kind of pull that there. Trim that. And pull it there. Okay, now. The reason for this is because pauldrons attach as close to the center of the back as possible for the protection of the wearer. Okay. And then kind of bring this down to there and there. Now we turn off transparency. This time it's going to be 0.037. Accept. Draw. And there you can see the pauldrons. Actually, let's go ahead and go to move topological, make it a lot bigger. We're going to move it out this way a bit, just to make it more distinctly pauldrony, and this way. Like I said, we're going to decorate it more in the second half of the show. This is just getting everything in place. Okay. And now we need to make the elbow cops and knee cops. Then we'll make the hip plates on the side of the original dress, and that'll be it. I'm going to go ahead and just make the horns visible just so we can see them. Actually, no, we need to make the waist plate next. Okay, turn on that line fill, not line fill, that transparency, go back to standard. And then going to be there and there, and then it's going to kind of come down. Okay. Bring this down a little bit. And then we're going to come down like that. And then we're going to come back up like that. Or back down like that. Then we're going to trim it just a little so that we can sharpen the points at top and bottom. I'll kind of trim it around here. And the next thing I need to do is I need to erase the pauldrons that I forgot to erase before. The pauldron markings, I should say. Okay, now let's make it visible. Extract. Accept. And yes, that came out nicely. It gives us a belt, and it continues the armor down the torso. And then we can do some further decoration here. The dragon will, of course, be on the chest piece up here. And then we can do further things down here. Now, let me go ahead and get some more soda. We're going to go ahead and make the basic plates for what is going to be the elbow cops and the knee cops. do that, we're going to make a circle on both elbows and knees that overlaps both top and bottom plates. Then we're going to bring a line out on the inside and the outside to make sure it covers up. It kind of blends in. And a little bit of erasure here. And then erasing here. And then here, we make a circle. There we go. And now the knees. Again, we're going to make a circle on the front of each knee. And we're going to blend back to there. And then erase there. And there. Gives a nice sharp shape. We're going to make the sabatons by just simply carving grooves into the feet. And now there we go. Pull that out a little bit just to emphasize the division. There we go. That is almost all of the actual plates in place. But the only thing left to do is hip plates, which really and truly she doesn't need, because she's wearing a full scale tunic instead of mail or cloth. Just to give you a glimpse, this is how she's looking so far before any flame and before any detailing. Okay. What are you thinking of your heavy armor so far, Regina? And it is 2:55. This is exactly the point where I really need to pause. So what we're going to do, if you need to save a project like this in the middle, and you do not plan on simply popping out and coming right back to it, if you're going to be closing your computer or closing the programs, then what you do is you go to Save As under Tool. And we're going to put this in the T-Pally. And save it as a ZTL. It will remember levels of subdivision. It will remember whether you have it on symmetry or not. It will not remember what strokes you've done. So Control Z will do nothing. But it will maintain this. Right now we're looking at 7 million polygons totaled up between all of the parts. Oh, crazy cat. So next, I'm going to go ahead and pop back into here. Yeah. Like I said, it is not done yet. It is nowhere near done. We are going to be finishing it up tonight at the 8 o'clock show. Before we go, if you can't make it to the 8, let me ask you a couple questions real quick. Okay? First, the horns. Is there a natural animal whose horns you want hers to look like? Because the first thought I had was instead of them coming back like that or coming out, have them kind of come out and down and then arc up or arc back. To make it kind of like the side tines of a pitchfork with the flame coming up from in between them. Yes. Tell Matt I said, oh, yes, so feral. So your horns, what do you want for your horns? I think he's trying to go to sleep. Arch up and back? Or do like that? So basically just have them come out like that. And kind of go like that. Like speed lines. Like flames. Okay. Hear that? It's going to be like flames. Okay? Buzz what? Hey, flashlight. Anyway. Oh. Alright. So, coming down and then arcing up and back. Like that. Like the tines of a pitchfork. Yeah. Okay. It is now 2:58. I have to make a grocery store run. Don't ask why. Why am I so pink? Let me check something. Have I been this pink all afternoon? Okay, that's better, I think. Oh, yay. It's probably because my drapes are red. Just like those are, as you can see from the right along here. Anyway, I will be back at 8. No, this is red. Look at this. Rich red. Anyway, I will be back at 8 to continue the sculpt and add in the detailing. Now, you said you wanted a dragon on the chest. Is there any style to the other detailing you want? Do you want fluting? Do you want more of like the Victorian florets? Do you want just basic flat plates with trim? We just look at little rims. The swirly cues and the loops. Okay. All right. Well, 3 o'clock exactly. I am going to hold my hand up. I'm going to count from 5 to 1. When I get to 1, I'm going to say something goofy and then go. And when I see my hand go, I'll be logging off for the afternoon. Now that it is 5 hours from now, I'll be back. And until I actually start the broadcast, there won't be a chat to be in. So just be patient. Okay, so that's going to be a 5, 4, 3, 2, and a 1. I guess that was silly enough.